Yo ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grimm bringing you One Punch Man, chapter 160. Review or prediction? This one's this one's gonna be kind of a more in depth discussion because there's a lot of questions, and this is a monumental moment. This is arguably there's a lot of celebrating, but at the same time, we have to remember this is arguably Garou's last moments in the series. So there's a lot to speculate on, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot to anticipate or a lot to be worried about. And I'd like to discuss a bunch of different things or topics that I noticed or that came to mind as I was rereading throughout, or as I was rereading Garou's fights throughout the series. I rewatched the Boros versus Saitama fight to really refresh myself as to Saitama's full capabilities when facing an opponent that's capable and strong at this level. I know we just saw him deal with even Natural Ocean, but it's not the same. Even Natural Ocean didn't put up the same fight that Boros put up. So, in contrast to Boros, because I'm not saying that Garou is at Boros level, I think actually the opposite is now more reaffirmed in my belief after rewatching the fight one more time. That so far, I don't think Garou is matching that, but that's a point of discussion to have. Like, is that the reason why Garou hasn't matched Boros' skills yet in terms of his first display up against Saitama? Because he's going to characteristically like the character is, or characteristically like the character often does, grow throughout the fight and get to that pinnacle, reach that level of power to be able to compete with Saitama. Are we supposed to be expecting that? Theoretically, that's what Garou does. So yeah, but and that's just one topic aside that we could potentially discuss. If you have any comments or any ideas in regards to anything that I mentioned in this chapter or in regards to what's going to happen in the actual fight, please write in the comment section below after you like and subscribe. Remember, this is a manga only channel, so if you have thoughts, hints, speculation, or any thoughts based on the webcomic, don't include it in your message or anything that you have to say on this channel. Manga only. So first, I guess the big overarching picture to explain what all of these ideas are going to be based around to a certain degree is a question of whether Garou is going to live or not at the end of this fight. Saitama doesn't kill civilians, but he kills monsters. Throughout the entirety of this arc, from chapter like 44 or something like that till now, whatever you want to consider Garou's arc, we've had the question of whether Garou's a monster or not. We know his inspirations are from like the weak being stamped on by the heroes, quote unquote, the downtrodden. He's representing them. He's fighting for them, quote unquote. But it's not the same as what's also been blown up in conjunction with that fault up against the heroes. The fact that, like, if you're the monster, you're often getting beat down upon and jumped by this guy who's just doing it for the glory. But now multiple monsters have pointed that out. Now not only Platinum Sperm, but others as well have also pointed out the fact that these guys aren't necessarily heroes just for, like, just to help the little guy or to help those in need. A lot of the times that they come out to do stuff, it's because they're fighting for the glory. They want more prestige, they want their name out there, or they like to fight, quote unquote, in Darkshine's case. But it's different whenever Garou is doing it. Yes, he's called out heroes. He's pointed that out as well. But Garou specifically went out with the intention of hunting heroes. He hasn't killed any of them. This was even pointed out by Phoenix Man, who showed that, hey man, all of your victims are still alive, or all the people who you hunt are still alive. So much for the whole hero hunt shit or whatever. Your reputation isn't that scary. It's not of fearfulness. Like in the same instance, talking about Phoenix Man. Phoenix Man found a way to save Garou primarily because he was afraid of what Orochi would do if he didn't come back with Garou. So it just shows you the difference in maybe action or how others perceive you when you are killing and when you are making those final decisions and you know bodying individuals, in contrast to what Garou is doing, leaving all of his victims alive. Don't get me wrong, he's still terrifying, as was displayed up against the Darkshine example. He petrified the individual with his tenacity to an extent that Darkshine couldn't compete anymore. But what Phoenix Man is saying has some merit to it, and he's a perfect example of the merits of that fear. So the question is, have the actions has the motive and actions of Garou put him in a position to where not only physically but maybe morally as well he should be considered a monster? Is it no longer okay to say that, like, oh, yes, he was doing these bad things, but he looks like a monster, he looks like a human, so it's okay. He's a human underneath all that armor or whatever, so it's okay. Leave him alive. Or is it to the point to where, hey, you look like a monster, and all the things that you've done are monster-ish, so we're gonna deal with you in the exact same way. Atomic Samurai gave Bang the benefit of the doubt of not being too soft and being able to handle Goro, being able to deal with the threat if it came down to it, and he gave him a chance to do that. Bang showed that he wasn't gonna back down, but it wasn't enough. So it's not like individuals out there aren't understanding the reality of the situation. That yes, he's a human, and even Metalbat mentioned this, that he didn't. Whenever Garou interfered in the Centipede fight, Metalbat was like, "Hey, I don't want to be sitting here wasting time with a punk. Get out of the way." But he was still willing to kill him. Even Metalbat was willing to kill Garou, but before Zenko saved him. So once again, we're reiterating what the big question is that all these topics are going to be about. Is it justified to kill Garou? Because if it's not, and we get the defeat of Garou, but he's still alive, we could potentially have him in later on storylines, and that's what I want. I want to see more of Garou, and definitely in the story of One Punch Man. But there are some. Well, I guess we'll start off with the first topic. This is one of the first reasons as to why I have doubt as to whether Saitama will acknowledge Garou as a human or as a monster. Not only in the chapter 160 does he say, "What are you supposed to be?" Not "Who are you?" And let me look at the page one more time just to make sure he says, "Yeah, what are you supposed to be?" And this is the Reddit translation. I don't know if there are other translations that say differently or allude to something differently, but that's what he says there. In the first fight that he had with Tank Top, the first hero that he encountered, Tank Top as well questioned for a few panels actually whether Garou was human or not. He looked human, just the same, but the aura and the evil, I guess, spirit that was emanating from Garou really made Metal Bat or really made Tank Top doubt the validity of Garou's humanity. So yes, he did reaffirm that yes, Garou is a human, but he's still way too evil, so he decided to quote unquote put him down. He was going to do that before Garou fought back and overwhelmed him. So that's one instance of a hero, I guess, making a decision for him. But it's still a question of if Garou can be in a completely human form, looking like he did in the epitome of Hero Hunter Garou, his first fight up against Tank Top, if the evil emanating from his spirit can make somebody like Tank Top, a righteous individual like Tank Top, question whether he's a human while staring at him in a human form, then what does Garou's appearance really matter in front of Saitama? Like, Boros is a humanoid. You know, he was an alien or whatever. His crew also emphasized that fact. But he was still a humanoid. So, like, does Saitama really care? Do you have to look exactly like a human? Or does the evil coming from him, is that enough to kill Garou indefinitely? We're not talking about an individual who can just be let alone or not handled. Like, Garou, Saitama has to answer for Garou. And the answer may be death. Another question that came to mind while reading throughout all the chapters, or excuse me, reading throughout all of Garou's fights was will Garou try and copy Saitama's fighting style mid-fight? We've seen this is one of Garou's signature techniques. One of the things that we like the most about him. One of the characteristics that he displayed that made him so attractive to not only power scalers, but to the dynamic of the story. That the fact that we're not seeing him do the same exact thing, put up the same exact defenses up against a variety of different individuals. He incorporated what he learned previously into his new and current fights, and we love that. So the question is, and to elaborate further, there are even after Garou continued to evolve even more so and started to face even tougher opponents, he began to incorporate and learn their fighting styles mid-fight. This happened in the beginning as well with Tank Top Master. Garou mentioned that he had already analyzed, because he was a genius, and understood Tank Top's fighting style, so he wasn't a problem anymore. But later on, we started to see Garou incorporate and utilize, after analyzing an individual's fighting style in the very same fight. Like up against Darkseid, for example. Not only did Garou manage to understand and analyze and copy Darkseid's style, but then he implemented it in the same fight, up against him in the same moment, to to cancel out his super alloy bazooka. Clashed with him the same exact attack, and was able to cancel out the attack. Just another example. Along with, we could even talk about how he managed to, after one exchange, we'd seen him. I guess Garou has seen the whirlwind maybe twice. He knew of the whirlwind before the encounter with EC, but maybe he's encountered it like 2 or 3 times in his entirety of his life, and he was able to, once he came to the surface, cancel out the whirlwind from Bomb, the master. So it's a question as to whether Saitama has a distinguishable fighting style. Can you distinguish it differently from everything else that some other people do? Is it just a regular punch? Can you even call it that? Is there a particular way or a special way that Saitama punches? Is there a style to Saitama that could be copied? That's a question that you would wonder. Immediately in the let's continue. I know we talked about already with the whole being able to recognize Saitama, being able to recognize Garou, and what he just said, what he's supposed to be. But whenever he gave him the first chop in the city after Garou had like humiliated the executive, Saitama didn't try to kill him. He didn't try to kill him. So you see why it's back and forth as to whether, like, that's what it means to me. Like, it's the finality is right there, because the surprise for me would be if Garou manages to beat Saitama. That would be the surprise. I'm not expecting that whatsoever. I have no reason to believe that Garou has the capability to beat Cape Baldy. No reason whatsoever. The chop is nice and powerful, and it is stronger it has to be stronger than what Saitama did to EC, because Sage is much, much, much larger and longer than what EC was. So Garou's chop is definitely stronger than that, but it's not the strongest of attacks that Saitama should have thrown out or dealt out. Like, maybe even Garou would be able to handle one of that punch that Saitama did to Rover. Sure, but the serious punch that he used to cancel out the Kalashi Star Roller Cannon hasn't been matched in any sense. It was continent bridging. Like, there's no comparison there. So that's why I'm not expecting Garou to beat Saitama. He would need to first portray abilities of that level in order to do that. And like I said, he has 1 or 2 there that are very impressive. I'd like to see what Boros would do up against a chop like that. And that's just a chop. Imagine an incorporation of the God Slayer style with power like that. We're talking about some crazy ass capabilities. But I still have Boros over him. So let's keep moving. Another question that came to my mind was the blitzing. We've seen how fast Saitama can react, right? Like, sometimes he waits for individuals to stop talking. Sometimes he's like, blah, blah, blah. Other times he interrupts them. But Saitama doesn't blitz everybody. He doesn't do that all the time. Up against Orochi actually attacked Saitama first before he maneuvered and then came after him, if I'm remembering correctly. Or if that was in the redraw. So, the question is, just like Garou did up against Metal Bat, will Garou blitz Saitama? Or, just like a Tank Top managed to surprise and smack Garou, will Saitama blitz Garou and then break his armor off? That'd be really dynamic because we get to see Garou's armor come off. We get to see Saitama recognize that it's Garou, and then we get to see that bout for real. Like, hey, who are? Oh, you're a Bang student, or oh, hey, you're the hero hunter, or whatever the case is, or oh, hey, I've seen you before, and then Garou could be like, oh, hey, I've seen you before, or maybe you could tell him his name and be like, oh yeah, I'm Saitama, Cape Baldy, and he remembers, oh yeah, Gino said that. I would like to see them acknowledge that they understand who each other or who the other one is at some point in this fight. And I'd like it to be from past events. Now, it would also be cool to have them remember each other's names after the fact, if Garou isn't dead, to have like Saitama remember Garou's name because of the feats that he put up. That'd be very satisfactory in regards to the acknowledgement of Garou's power. At the end of this fight, if Saitama remembers Garou's name, that'll be that thing. Another question that came to my head while doing the reread is, will Garou run from Saitama like he did Watchdog? Okay. So, if you read the Watchdog fight or encounter, Garou says that he basically ran away after he was overwhelmed. He ran away until he got to the outskirts of the city, to the city boundary, and that's when Watchdog Man stopped chasing him. He hadn't run before, and he doesn't really run like that. Even up against Rover, he was running around, and up against Orochi, he was running around as well. So it's not like he has encountered dire situations and chosen not to run. But up against Watchdog, he did do that. Would it be implausible to see Garou run away from Saitama until he could like get his grasp around him, get his wits of about him and shit like that, and try and pull out something that would be victorious or at least pose a grandstand? I know it seems crazy. I know it's not super characteristic of Garou, but it happened. That occurred. He got overwhelmed by Watchdog Man, and then he was like, "Oh man, I'm lucky to be alive." Like, we can't pretend like this isn't the individual who that would also happen up against. Like, yes, Saitama is as intimidating as Watchdog Man could be. Yeah, Garou even mentioned that. Oh, I don't even think that was Watchdog's full power, or that he was even taking me serious. Like, or that he thought, oh yeah, I think he was holding back. Saitama holds back. Like, you have all the variables and all the makings of Garou running away from Saitama. Now, am I saying that he's gonna run away indefinitely? No. I'm not saying that he's gonna try to get away from the city and then Saitama start chasing after him. No. I'm saying that like it could be plausible that Garou runs away from Saitama mid-fight until he can find a way to overcome him. So he can calm down or get his nerves about him or like finish transforming or whatever has to happen. I think it could be plausible to see that in a fight. Would I want that? Maybe not. Would I call Garou a pussy for that? Probably. I probably would be dead ass. But it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be justified. Oh, yeah, I don't know why let me drop that. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't be justified in regards to Saitama's capabilities. Another question that I asked is, or that came to mind was, when Garou is getting overwhelmed, he often resorts to different fighting styles. Like he did up against Tank Top Master, Genos, and Bang. So will we get to see the different fighting styles of these different heroes, the different individuals that he's fought up against Saitama and how they're fair? And will it be a fair comparison to like be like, oh, that means that Saitama would do this well up against that, or oh, hey, maybe that means that the Watchdog style does well up against Saitama. That's what I'm saying. So, in up against the Tank Top fight, involuntarily, he accidentally used a water stream whenever he hit Tank Top. And he was like, damn, I was trying not to use her. Oh, damn, I used it. And then he started using that capability. Because of all the situation, he was getting smacked. He was getting smacked. And then once he came and did that shit and matched Tank Top's attack, that's when the tide started to change. Same thing happened up against Genos and up against Bang during the EC encounter. Genos was literally putting in work, and then Garou resorted to using Watchdog's different movements now up against him and Bang in order to help him in the in the fight. He even got behind Genos and used the give me paw technique and took Genos's arm. And that's when he got choked or whatever. So like it would be badass to see the different fighting styles that he's learned, like the whirlwind, the water stream, um, the watchdog style. He Grow even used tank tops like groundbreak up against Bang and Bomb. So that'd be badass to see too up against Saitama, and how well it fares at that skill level up against Saitama. Because if we're talking about competing, right, there were times in the Boros fight where Boros was actually landing punches on Saitama. Like he got through his speed and his defenses and sent them flying across the entire platform of the ship. So it's not crazy to believe that we're gonna see Garou like get past Saitama's defenses and smack him around a bit. I would love to see that Saitama countering or Saitama attacking Garou and Garou dealing with those attacks using the variety of styles that we've seen throughout the series, like avoiding Saitama's like crazy punches with like the Watchdog style. To be like, oh, could Watchdog, if he was that strong, really evade Saitama's punches? Is this what it would have looked like if he did that? Or like seeing how the whirlwind would actually work up against Saitama, like is it just gonna cut his clothes, or like would it actually cut him from somebody at that skill level like Garou performing? Is the Godslayer fist the only thing that would be effective against Saitama? And is it going to be effective against Saitama? That's what came to mind in regards whenever I saw and thought about like, hey, Garou is doing a really good job of incorporating the styles that he learned in the previous fights and the previous encounters in situations in the current hand. So shit, what else could he do? What's he really going to show up against Saitama? Like, what else is he going to remember? Let's see. What else came to mind? What else came to mind was will Garou's fighting spirit activate up against Saitama? And will it be enough? Oh, so this is the whole progression thing, right? That we talked about in the beginning a little bit. That maybe the feats that Garou has shown aren't enough on purpose because of the whole fighting spirit implication. We just seen that in the recent fight that helped him propel himself past Sage, right? Because of Bat's presence, them feeding off of each other and just continuously pushing and thriving off of each other's energy, pushed Garou to such an extent that he was able to like basically manhandle Sage. So will the aspect of fighting spirit that Garou has managed to incorporate into himself, as we saw up against the Orochi fight, right? When Garou literally said, "I feel like fighting spirit" or something like that, and he thought about, he had a flashback of Metal Bat, as well as his Zenkai aspect that he has, that whenever he gets beaten down too much, he overcomes the obstacle, or he uses his genius to learn the technique and then push through it as he's overcoming physically as well. Are we going to see those two tactics come into play up against Saitama? And will it be enough to bridge the gap, right? We're talking about somebody who can deflect physically with a single punch the collapsing star roaring cannon. So is it enough? Are Garou's Zenkai, is his evolutionary capability enough to overcome that? Boros was able to regenerate, but he didn't get stronger every single time that Saitama like blew him to pieces or like took a limb or two off. He wasn't getting stronger. He had to go into a different form or more specifically, release more energy in a different state. But we don't really get that from Garou. All we've really gotten is like this buildup of this armor around him, around his skin. The stronger that he's gotten, the more that he's monstrifying. So, are we gonna see more armor the more the fight progresses? Are we gonna see like Garou shedding the armor? Are the marks gonna be on the skin now instead of anything like that? Like, or is it gonna be even more difficult to distinguish Garou's physical body from the armor? Is there even gonna be a difference? Like, is the armor gonna be like gone? Is there gonna be a different way to distinguish Garou's level and capabilities as they grow and as he evolves throughout the fight? And those are the questions that are coming to mind, like, because we see these traits that Garou displays throughout all of his fights, where he kept encountering all those different obstacles. Now you're encountering the obstacle, the problem. This is not a mountain that you can go around or a weight that you can lift if you try hard enough. The weight is too large. The obstacle is too high. So how do you deal with those things? How do you deal with that? So there's nothing I can do about that. The next question that came to mind while thinking about while reading through all the fights was, will Saitama get a chance to show true hero qualities to Garou? Or will Garou accuse him of the same fault that he's accused all the other heroes, that Platinum accused the other heroes of their selfish, egotistic intentions for their hero actions? So, one second. Sorry. So, so Platinum accused Flashy of, hey, you're not here to save anybody. You're not here for the bettering of these people or of the city or protection of the city. You're just here to fight. You're just here for glory, and that's true of a lot of heroes, in particular Darkshine. We saw that. We don't have that many examples of heroes who that couldn't be true for. Maybe you could argue for one or two of them, but Pig God is one of the best examples of, yeah, maybe he's not here for the glory. Maybe he's just here to help people. But we may not get a chance to see that now for Saitama. Saitama's storyline is really about the overarching larger storyline that we have and that we're learning from all these different instances of these different characters and the tribulations and trials that they go through. Some of them are monsters and they're dealing with the monstrous side. Others of them are dealing with teaching or learning or whatever, disciples or whatever like that. Even Genos is having to go through, like, I guess, more mental obstacles in contrast to some others individuals who are going through emotional obstacles. But right now, Saitama's is, hey, I have all the strength, but King pointed out that doesn't make me the best hero. Maybe the strongest hero, but not the best hero. So, Saitama is pure of heart. Saitama does do those things. He does save people. There may be once or twice where he has to disregard the safety of others or the destruction that's caused because of his actions. As King pointed out in the recent chapter, that, like, oh, Saitama has no chill, or like he always over exaggerates things or whatever, or like how whenever he broke the meteor apart, the meteor destroyed the city regardless of his punch. Like, it still was really destructive or whatever. And he may still have those little quirks that he has to deal with and improve upon, if they are able to be improved upon. But he's still a pretty good guy. So will he get to show that to Garou? Will that be a game changer? Will that be what, like, stops Garou from rampaging? Is Garou even going to get a chance to rampage? Like, is the fight versus Garou and Saitama going to be a hero hunt? Or Garou just, like, being monstrous or whatever like that, getting out of control, or Saitama just attacking somebody who attacked him? Like, there has to be that distinction there if Garou's continuing the hero hunt. And how is he going to acknowledge Saitama? I guess one of the last questions that came into mind, in the interest of time here at least, because we do have the One Punch Man podcast that we'll also get a chance to compare and contrast a bunch of these ideas that I talked about in this video, and that others have thought about and talked about throughout the community. One more is that if the water stream makes Saitama realize it's Bang's disciple, will he spare Garou? So, Saitama hasn't encountered a Watchdog Man, so he may not realize Watchdog Man's style. He hasn't encountered Tank Top, so he may not realize Tank Top's style. But I'm pretty sure he's encountered Bang. Is he going to be able to acknowledge and identify Bang's fighting style? He's seen different forms of martial arts. He's given us his opinion on them that just is like fighting in a cool way, taking cool poses or whatever. But he does remember certain things. Saitama's not dumb. He's just careless, if that's the best word to be used. So, how will Saitama acknowledge Garou? Will he realize that that's Bang's disciple? Will that play a factor? I don't know. There's a lot more questions that I want to ask that I've thought about. I will ask and think about and discuss in the comment section below. Give me your opinions on them. Yo ho ho!